Good evening. I don't know if you can hear me yet. Oh, I can hear myself. Why is that doing that? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, because you don't have any squares to join. Use this. I'm okay. Guess basically use this as like a reference. Good evening, Grammy. And this is not going to be a long stream tonight. I'm just not feeling it. But I will stream just 4 different techniques on joining. Let me see if I got all my enough samples. Yeah, I've got my samples good. Get that prepped. Gonna wait a little bit longer until the rest of the ragtag group comes in and any other new people. Put that there. Breaks are required. What do you mean breaks? Breaks from crocheting along? Let me double check. Okay. Few more minutes and then we'll get into this. I just want to double check. Okay. So how are we enjoying Granny Week so far? Haven't really gotten really into it. I mean, last time that was kind of interesting with the. I like the mosaic one a lot. Why is it showing my viewer count keeps changing? I don't know. I don't know how they determine this. Does Cinderella know that we're streaming tonight? I don't want to get halfway into it and then having to. Okay, thank you. I don't want to end up having to to backtrack too much. Okay, we're gonna probably get started right about. Let me check that. Okay, we're gonna get started. So, oh, I'm very excited for tomorrow. I'm excited for the rest of this week. I'm excited for Sunday, for Yarny Club. Okay, so we're gonna get started. We're gonna start. We're gonna do 4 different joining techniques, and this can be done on squares, on rectangles. You can do it with hexagons. You could do it with octagons. circles maybe not so well. I guess you could do it with circles. I don't know how well that would work because putting two circles. Well, don't worry about circles. Um, Real simple. We're gonna do the whip stitch join. If you know anything about basic sewing, you really like the result of the music, Granny, but my shoulders are killing. Yeah, it takes another arm movement and way of getting everything just the way you need. So if you know anything about basic sewing and you know the whip stitch, it's pretty much the same thing. So with the whip stitch, and I got to get my let's zoom in a little bit. What you're going to do is you're going to take your yarn you're going to use to join. I'm just using different colors just to show. You would probably use matching colors or something that wouldn't show as much. And there's two ways of doing this. You can join just two together, but if you're doing a lot of them, let's say you add a whole lot, you add more, you can join this seam, and after you joined it, then you can join these two, and you keep going the length or the width of your project. I'm just going to show you just two together. I'm not going to show a huge project. So if you're doing a blanket, you can join them all in that direction, and after you've done all your seams in one direction, the length of it, and then you can go back and do the same thing but crosswise. You haven't missed much. You haven't missed anything. I'm just starting to explain how to do the first join technique. We're going to do the whip stitch. And for the whip stitch, you're going to measure a length of yarn about 3 times the length of your seam. So my seam happens to be here. Let's say your seam is as long as a blanket. You measure, you don't have to do it that long. You probably want to do it longer. You're going to be doing multiple groupings at a time. However you're going to do it. So you're going to do approximately 3 times the length, roughly, and have a strand of yarn that long. Then you're going to get your yarn needle, your tapestry needle, yarn needle, whatever you want to call it, darning needle. And you're going to thread your yarn onto your needle. And then you're going to take the fronts of your pieces and put them face to face. Now, these are slightly different sizes. The pink yarn is a slightly thinner yarn. It'll still work. And what you're going to do is, starting at the corner, you're going to go through the first stitch. So you're going to pick up, we're at the corner here, the exact corner. You're going to go in and go under those 2 loops of that stitch. So when you look at it, it is a chain. That's a chain stitch. So you're going to go under the first 2 loops, but over that bottom part of the chain. So you're going to go right in there, and you're going to do the same thing on the opposite square. Right sides together, and you're going to pull your yarn through, not all the way. You're going to leave a little tail, and then you're going to whip stitch them together. So real simple. Then you're going to go to the next stitch, go under the V. We always talk about the V in the tops of the stitches. Go under the V of the next stitch on the pink, and then the next stitch on the blue. And when we do this, so our tail is on the pink side. Either way, doesn't matter, left to right or right to left, doesn't matter. However it works for you. So when you do this, remember, right sides are together, the back sides are on the opposite side. So you've gone through both of those, and then you're going to bring your working yarn over the top. So it's going to cross over where they meet, and you're going to go into the next stitch of the pink, and then right into the next stitch of the next one. Of course, you're going to use a coordinating color of yarn. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. And you're going to pull through, but you don't want to pull too tight. You want to pull and it's snug. And then you bring it over again to reset, and you go into the next stitch, or wherever you can get it as close as possible. This is one of the simplest ones to do. And you pull it so it's snug. You don't want it too tight or too loose. And each time you're just gonna bring it back. And you can go through both at the same time. You know, there's a bit of a glare. That's a little bit better. Just go through the stitch on the pink, on the front, on the pink, and then on the blue. You can go through at the same time. And then pull through just so it's snug. Bring it back over to reset. And you just keep going along. You just pick up the pairs of stitches. You're going to have one from one square and one from the other. Real basic, simple whip stitch. And I'm not going to go all the way around because I'm not encapsulating them. I'm just going to join this side together. They're going to open up, but they're going to be joined together. When you get to a chain space here, don't go through the chain space. You're going to go through the stitch, because sometimes you'll see it, and that will pull that chain space a little snug. And again, don't pull real tight. Real simple. Again, I keep saying that. And this is just a quick way. I mean, it takes a little while because you're hand stitching it. Oh, and I should have mentioned that 2 of these techniques are using the yarn needle, and 2 are going to be using the crochet hook. We're going to do the yarn needle ones first. And you keep going that until you get to the corner, the opposite corner, which I'm pretty much there. Now let's say you had more to do. So once you finish that, then if you wanted, because you're going to have a series of them, putting all your blocks together, if you had a long enough thread, you could start the next one. And they would all be connected, a big old chain of all these groups of squares together. I'm not going to do all of that for the demonstration. So then once you get to the very end, you're just gonna to finish off. Let's say it's the very end. You're just gonna finish. You're gonna go in to that stitch, and then you're gonna go back into that loop, and then you can always weave in your end wherever you need it. And you can also do the same thing with that end. If you want, you can leave your tail a little bit longer to weave that in at the very end. And then when you're done, obviously these squares are not the exact same yarn. Do what again? The finishing, I gotta pick it out, which is, I can easily do it. Give me a second. I gotta play surgeon. So the very last stitch, if this is the end of your project, let's say you got a whole row of them you're piecing together. You get to the end of that row, your last stitch, you got a loop here. So you've gone through, but you're not going to pull this tight. You're not going to snug it up. You're just going to put your needle through the loop and then pull it snug. That's it. And then, if this was your finished work, before you take the yarn off, I would weave in through a couple stitches. Again, your yarn is going to match your squares. If not, you could do it where it's contrasting. I would do another one of those. So go in and do another little stitch next to it in the same area, and then pull it through that loop. So we've got our loop here. I just gone through both squares right in the corner, and I'll just go through the loop and pull it snug. You could do that, and then you can cut it real close, because that's basically you've made two little knots, and then you can cut it. Same thing at the other end. You could always leave a longer tail to do that, or weave it in. And then that's how it's going to look. You're going to see some of the stitching, but if you use a coordinating color, that's either one of these, or it's going to be in the, depending on what you use, you're going to use a yarn to match, and you won't see it as much. So that's just a whip stitch. That's the front side. The back side, you'll see the whip. You'll actually see the stitch. Does that make sense? It's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's the most simplest way of joining. Yeah, real simple. If you're familiar with sewing, hand sewing, basic, very basic stitch. Okay. So if we've got that down, and again, like I said, you'd have a longer strand. And what I would do, if I'm making a blanket, I'd have a longer length. I wouldn't have it as long as the whole blanket, because that's going to wear down on your yarn. I do it maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 segments long. And then I would just go, I wouldn't tie off there. I would go on to the next one and keep going until my yarn got my thread. We're going to use this thread basically sewing, and you're going to finish off. And then imagine these joined together, but these are joined together just like this, but they're all going to be connected here at this middle point, and then you can always go back and go the opposite way. Then they'll all be joined. Okay, so that's the whip stitch. Okay, next we're going to go to, this is what is called, if we're all ready to go into the next step. I didn't want to jump ahead unless everybody's not ready. And I'm just gonna go ahead or stay on the whip stitch. That's okay, Norfairy. You could have the Irish whiskey. You can have the Milky Way. Coca-Cola's fine. Okay. So the mattress stitch, if we're all ready for the mattress stitch, which the mattress stitch, you're not going to see the joining yarn as much. So again, what you're going to do is you're going to measure a length of yarn about 3 times the length. It's always good to have a little extra than what your length is going to, what your finished blocks are going to be together. Again, if you have multiple groupings, you'd measure that. So it doesn't have to, you don't have to just do one at a time. You can join multiple sets at the same time. So it's going to be roughly about 3 times the length. And I got to thread the needle again. Even though it's a large-eyed needle, I got to look at the light. Okay, you're going to thread the needle. And what you're going to do is you're going to lay both of your pieces face up side by side with the edges together. On the first square, which we're going to use the pink as the first, because on the joint, on the whip stitch, we used the pink as the first side we went into. And I got to look at my notes, because I've done this before, but it's been a while since I've done the mattress stitch. So you're going to lay them face up, and you're going to thread the very corner of your first square. You're going to come up from the bottom of that corner stitch, okay? Wherever the corner is. And if you're off a little bit, it's not that big of a deal. You don't got to be that concerned about it. You're going to come up from the bottom and pull it up. Don't pull it all the way through, but leave a tail. And then you're going to do the same thing on the next square. You're going to find the corner, and you're going to come up from the bottom in that corner of that stitch. It's a chain, so you're going to go right up into the corner. Does that make sense? On both of them, you're coming up from the bottom in the corner. So you do one, then the other, and you're both coming up from the bottom. So it's going to come up from the bottom up through the top, and then the other one from the bottom to the top. I'll move it to the side. Here, this where my finger's moving, that's the tail. It's coming up from the bottom through the pink, going over through the bottom of the blue, and then up. Okay? Don't pull it tight. Just have it somewhat close. Hold on from the front. Let me just check 1 second. Okay. And after we do that, and I might have to zoom in a little. So we've come up from the bottom of the first one and out the top, and then the next one up from the bottom out the top, again, both at the corners. And now we're going to go into our first square, the same stitch that we came out of. You're going to put it in, and you're going to go up into the next stitch, however you can get it in there. So you're going to go into the same, right next to where it came out of the pink, right here, and then you're going to go on, you're going under, but then you're going to come back up in the next stitch on the same square. And then you're going to pull like that, get it close. They don't have to be real tight to each other. And you're going to do the same thing on the second one. Go in where it came out of the blue, and then up in through the next stitch on the blue. And you're going to do this for a few. When you first start out, it's going to be a little weird because it's not all connected. So I'm going to do that one more time, and it's the same thing no matter if where you are on the process. Go into the next stitch and come up, get as close as possible. And then you're going to go to the second square, right where it came out on the second square. You're going to go in and then back out through the next stitch. And then pull up. When you have a length, however many, what you're going to do is you're going to hold on to both ends. My tail's a little long on this, but you're going to hold on to both ends. And it's kind of a little difficult to hold it all together. I'm going to hold both pieces and the tail. So I'm holding the tail in place and both pieces, and I'm pulling with this, and when you pull with that, and this may or may not work the first time, there it goes. You might have to pull the other, yeah, pull both ends, and you see, you don't see the stitch here. You have square buttoned up against square, and the same thing on the back side. This makes an invisible seam, as opposed to the whip stitch, where you can see the white. You can see the stitches on the front going side to side, and on the back they're at an angle, because that's how you're forming the stitch. With the mattress stitch, you're essentially hiding the stitches in the seam. So then for the next one, you just keep going. You find where it came out of the pink. Came out of the pink here. Go back in and then up into the next stitch. Pull it through. You don't have to pull it too tight. And then on the blue, where it came out of the blue, go back in and then up out the next stitch. Pull it a bit. And then the same thing, we're going to do a couple stitches here. Go in where it came out of the pink, where that previous stitch came out of, and then come up through the next stitch. And if it's not perfect, it's fine, because this is going to be hidden with this stitch. I like this stitch a lot. If you don't want to have anything that's different between the two squares, if you don't want to highlight, if you don't want to add another color. So then you put in, again, where it came out of the blue, go in that same spot and then up through the next stitch. And let's do it one more time. Where it came out of the stitch on the pink square, it's going to come out of the next stitch, the very next stitch. And my string's getting a little short, so I'm going to pull. And sometimes you got to kind of tug a little. You got to be a little careful with it, depending on how the yarn. This isn't the best yarn, and you're going to pull on it, and it makes a very snug, invisible seam. I'll keep going till the end. So I came out of the pink on this one. So now I'm going to go into the blue now, where it went in, and then back up, and then the same thing with the pink, where it came out of the pink, up, and then out of the next stitch on the pink. I'm going to pull as I go. And it helps if I turn it this way so I can see the next stitch. So it came out of that stitch. So we're going to go back into it and then out the next. Whoops. So it came out of this stitch. We're going to go into where it came out of. And then up, out the next stitch on the blue. Same thing with the pink. It came out of the pink here. So I'm going to go back in the same area and then up, out through the next stitch on the pink. And now we're going to do the same thing but on the blue. Go in where that previous stitch came out of. Came out right there. We're going to go back in. And then we're going to go up and out the next stitch. And my tail is a little short. And every now and then just pull tight. And then you just keep going until you get to the corner, which I'm pretty much at the corner right now. And the same thing, you just slowly work up. And then the same thing to finish off. Actually, I probably could go in one more time on the pink there. The same thing to finish off. You can always, however you want to do it, you can always go back. You can kind of see There's a little bit of the stitch there. You can go underneath there. Just go under that little white stitch. However, that you need to go back through that loop that you made and pull it tight. You might see it a little bit, but if I join another one next to it, you won't see it as much. Again, you're still going to try to, I always say, try to use a coordinating color or a color that's the same. And then once you get to the end, you do however long you're going to do it. So that's what it looks like from the front. You don't see any of your stitches. You just see the squares. And again, if you have a square that's going to have like a different, like the square is blue, and then let's say I do a white border and a white border on the pink, this is where you would join it. So you don't necessarily have to do it right into this color. However your square looks. This is just an example. So you wouldn't see any of the joining. Yeah, it's going to take a little practice, but once you get it, it actually will come quick. So you won't see it there, and if you flip it on the back, you won't see it there either. I mean, you kind of will see it a little bit, but I like it, so it makes an invisible seam. I like the mattress stitch a lot. And these are only a few examples of joining. These are the most common ways of joining. There are probably a whole bunch of other different ways. There's probably decorative joining stitches. We're not getting into anything too elaborate. So we all understand the mattress stitch. Kinda. If not, you can always come back to it at a later date. So, well, you could do that. I don't know how strong it's going to be. There might be a running stitch join. Okay. So the next two joins we're going to do not involve a yarn needle. They involve your crochet hook. So the next two, we're going to do the single crochet seam. This is let me just review this real quick. Okay, this is real simple. So you put your two squares right sides together and line up with the corners. And then put your hook into both corner spaces of both squares. Okay, that big hole on both squares. And then you're going to, they're on your hook. Then we're going to join, like we're changing a color. Like I showed last night, how to do that type of join. So you're going to loop the yarn around. You're going to make a tail for however long. You loop it around your hook and bring it through. So now we've got the tail here and the working yarn here, and we've got our loop here. And this is, when you do this, do it very loose. Drop your tail down so you only have the working yarn in your hand. Your tail is hanging on the bottom side of your work. Okay. And then you're going to do a chain. So that's going to anchor your yarn a little. And now you're going to go into the stitch. And with this, let's just see. You could do it either way. You could either go into the hole here where you went, but I'm going to go into the actual chain of the granny square, go into the first chain, and then go into the next chain. So we've gone under the V's of both, yarn over, bring up the loop, and do this very loosely. And you have 2 on the hook, single crochet, and do that for the entire length of your seam. So you're going to go to the next stitch in one, and you find the next stitch on the other, yarn over, and do a single crochet. So you find the next one, and that's all you're doing. But again, try to do it as loose as possible. And even when you get to your chain spaces, go through the chain. That's what I would recommend, because it's going to look a little weird if you go through the whole. Starting out is fine, because that's how you to join. This is the easiest way to join. And going through this individual chain can be a little bit of a pain, but you take your time and go through both loops on the chain. So you got the V's on both, and yarn over, pull through. That's not real fun going through that. But again, do it as loose as possible, because if not, it's going to distort your work and it's not going to look good. So you just slowly work your way. Real simple if you know the single crochet, which I'm assuming we all know single crochet, those of us that are crocheters. And when you get to the end, remember when you made these, there were 2 chains per corner. So you're only going to go through the first chain, because that will be this seam. If you go through the other chain will be the seam that runs perpendicular. Yes. This way you don't have to worry about a yarn needle through each of them. And again, trying to get through these chains is the worst part. But again, always remember, take your time and go loose. So I've come to the end, and let's say I had more. I would just start the same thing over again, and they'd be connected at the corners. So then you can cut it, and when you open it, yeah, you're going to have to the chain at the end. Okay, remember? I'm going to show you on a side I didn't have. Remember when we made these? I know you didn't watch me make this, but this is a simple granny. You've got 2 chains for the corner. Remember, every time we go around, we do a cluster of 3, 2 chains, and then we do another cluster. So we have 2 chains. Well, the first chain belongs to the first side, and the second chain belongs to the opposite, to the adjacent side. If you're stitching them together and you go through both chains of the corner, well then your seam is going to keep going like this, and then it's going to turn. You don't want it to turn, because if you want it to turn, you're going to make a pocket. You're going to start enclosing the whole thing. This is if you want them all to lay flat. So only go through that first chain of the corner of the square, because the thing with this, you're going to have to tuck in your tail when you start. You'll have to weave that in. You're going to see the stitches. Again, if you use a coordinating color, that's fine. The other problem is it will make a ridge on the back of your work, even if it's a different color, even if it's the same color. It is going to be a ridge. So there's that. You're going to see it, you're going to feel it. Okay. But that's the single crochet join. I don't like the ridge either. My scrappy blanket that I have is done this way because I wanted to put them all together quick, and it's a scrappy look, so I don't really care what it really looks like. I'm not a big fan of the ridge. I'm not a big fan of this in most cases. Okay. Let me check one thing real quick. I got to review this. It's been a while since I've done this next one. Yeah, you could do that. You're still going to get the ridge. Keeping out between the stitches. Insert. Okay. Just needed a little review to figure it out. The next one we're going to do, the last one tonight, is the flat slip stitch join. So we're going to get our yarn and put a slip knot on our hook like we're going to start a crochet project. Okay? Okay. So now we're going to put the wrong sides together. And if you notice, you know the edge here of each of them, there's two loops on each stitch. So we're only going to work on the inside loops, meaning if this is the middle where we're trying to seam, the loops that are closest to this space. So the inside will be here, and this will be the inside. We don't want to worry about the ones that are on the outer sides, if that makes sense. So to start, we're going to find the corner, and it's, again, the corner is made of 2 chains. We're going to find 1 chain. We're not going to go through both. There's a chain here and a chain here. We only go through the first one. And through the inside. Okay. We're going to go from wrong sides together. Okay. So you're going to go from this is the right side of the square. You're going to go into that one loop. So like the back loop, like if you're going to do back loop crochet, you're only going to go into that back loop there and the very next loop on the pink one. So this is wrong sides together, so I'm going through the back loop of the blue, and then on the pink, on the corresponding stitch on the pink one. Wait a minute, is that going to come up right? Okay, sorry, I messed up. Sorry about that. Again, it's been a while since I've done this. Okay, so we're going to start with one. We're going to come from, this is the right side. That's the wrong side. So, with the right side facing you, and that chain there on the corner, again, there's 2 chains. This chain belongs to this side. This chain belongs to this side. We're working on this side. You're going to come up under that one loop closest to the back side. Then you're going to keep your yarn on the back side of it. So it's not going to be on the front, it's going to be on the back. And then we're going to sandwich the other one wrong sides together. And we're going to come up under that back loop of the pink one. So when you look at them, so let's flip it over. If we flip it over, and it's kind of difficult to see, and I'm going to show you on one of these other stitches. You can't really see it there because the hook's in the way. This is the right side of the fabric. So this is the front loop. You're going to be only coming in through the back loop of that corner stitch. So only the back loop. And if we flip it over to the other side where we are, again, it's the back loop of the stitch. So the back loops are the ones that are actually going to be touching in the center here. Visualize it this way. So if they're sandwiched this way, you've got a front loop with the blue, a back loop with the blue, a back loop with the pink, and a front loop with the pink. So back loops are going to be right next to each other. And the whole time, our yarn is in between both squares. Okay? And you got 3 loops on the hook. So then what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Do this very loosely. I think I'm doing this right. Again, it's been a while since I've done this. So if it's not right, I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. Again, you're going to keep the yarn sandwiched between both squares. You're going to go under the back loop of the blue. And on the pink, it's the back loop, but it's the one closest to the blue. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And you know what? That's not working. Because you're not supposed to see this. Actually, no, you are supposed to see it. Yeah, you are supposed to see it. Okay. Sorry. Again, it's not... This is a thing I haven't used in a while. So at the end of each stitch, you're going to drop it between the squares. You're actually not even going to worry about it right now. It's down between the squares. It's actually down there. You're just going to get in position. The white yarn's underneath. You're going to go through both loops, the back loops. So you got 3 on the hook, because you have your starting one, and then each of the squares. Yarn over, pull through all 3, and then drop the working yarn. Actually, you're going to barely see it from the back. You will see it from the front. But it'll be like a chain. You'll see a chain. So again, you're going to drop it down in between the squares. Not even touching the working yarn. We're only worried about the squares right now. The back loop of the blue and the back loop of the pink, which actually are right next to each other. Now bring up the joining yarn, which is the white. Yarn over and bring through all 3. Again, do this as loose as possible. Now drop it. And you continue. Just go stitch by stitch. Again, it's been a long time since I have attempted this, like many years since I've attempted this stitch. I'm working into a chain and not the top of a double right now, so that's the difficult part. So you go through both of the loops, yarn over, and then bring through both of those, and then drop again, and you just keep going. Oh, I only want to go through the back ones, not both loops of each square. Once you drop it, how do you get it back up? Okay. I'll show you right here, okay? So it's dropped here in between our squares. I'm not even touching it. So I'm going to go through the back loop of the blue and the back loop of the pink. So it's here. I got my pink and my blue and the white, because the white is my working yarn. I'm going to reach under, because it's hanging underneath. It's still connected to the ball of yarn. You're going to pull it up. So if these are my two squares here, it's sandwiched between the two. You're going to pull it up. See, it's like right here now. And I got it wrapped around my finger like I normally crochet. So it's coming up in between both squares. Yarn over, and then pull through all loops on the hook, because it's a slip stitch. So now we're going to drop it in between. You don't want it going to be back there, because you're going to end up seeing it. You want it in between, because it's basically, when we're done with this, we're going to open this up. This is the back side of the piece. Those are the front sides. They just happen to be sandwiched together. So you're going to put it in the middle, leave it in between both squares, just so you can get the hook into the right loops of the squares of the stitches. So when it's like this, we got 3 on the loop on the hook. We got our first square, our second square, and our working yarn, and then we just pick it up, bring it up into position, which is right there. But again, do it as loose as possible. Yarn over. Just do a simple yarn over, and then through all on the loop on the hook. Again, drop it, and then through the loops that you need to go through. Pick it up again, yarn over, and then through all 3. And I got one more here, so I'm going to drop it and go through this. This is my last stitch of this, because my square is only so big. And you do the same thing if you have a bigger square. So again, we're our last stitch. We got the pink and the blue and the white, and our yarn is in the middle. Bring it up, yarn over, and then through all 3. And then you can always do one last, well, actually no. Yeah, what you would do to finish off, do one last chain, and then you would cut your yarn and then pull that tight like you normally would finish off. Now, this isn't the best yarn, and you're going to see it's going to look a little weird. I kind of fudged it a little. That's the back side. Okay, makes a nice little seam. And on the front side, you're going to use a coordinating yarn. And again, the pink yarn's not the best. But your seam will form like a chain. But it will lie, this right here, this ridge, are the front loops of those stitches. And this ridge here are the front loops of those stitches. You only went into the back loops. Again, if you use a coordinating yarn, it lays pretty flat. You don't really have a ridge, like a big ridge like this, like the single crochet join. It'll form a chain type join. Yeah. This is one that you kind of have to might have to be in person to visualize or watch it a few times. I would recommend either rewatching this part of the upload when it's on YouTube, or in all 4 of these on YouTube, if you go to TL Yarn Crafts, which I can send you the link, or actually I'll put it in here. Because that's where I mean, I've done these before in the past, but I looked at her videos, and let me see. Yeah, I love Tony. I like her personality. So, and she has a lot of Tunisian. So I'm going to send a link in here. And I know it's only going to be accessible while the stream is going. But if you just go to TL Yarn Crafts on YouTube and search for joining crochet squares, these exact same four, and probably the exact same order, is what she's doing. She did the whip stitch, she did the mattress stitch, she did the single crochet and the flat slip stitch. And she's got better lighting and setup and everything, so you can see some of it a lot better than you can probably see on here. But those are the four basic ones. There's probably a whole bunch of other different types of joining stitches. I like the mattress stitch and the flat slip stitch the best. The whip stitch is okay. I like the... Yeah, there probably are. Yeah, there's probably a whole lot of other different stitches and invisible stitches. And I like the single crochet the least, mainly because it forms that ridge. I like this because it makes that decorative chain V stitch shape, and it lies between the front loops of both squares. You can see some of the blue back there peek through. Again, it's not the exact same thickness of yarn. And then the back, it makes a stitch, but it's not too bad. It's just a bunch of bumps. So it's not like it's anything horrible looking. But the mattress is great because you won't see any of it. Any questions? We are gonna go. Let me look at this. Come on, computer. I'm having an issue at the moment. The Bear with me, everybody. I'm looking for something. Okay. I think that's all I got for you tonight. Which one of these do y'all like? Do you like the whip stitch? That's the front. That's the back. There's the mattress. That's the mattress. The single crochet. That's the front. That's the back. And the flat slip stitch. There's the front and there's the back. You like the mattress? Yeah, I like the mattress the most. It would look really good, especially if you're, after each square, you're doing even after each square, you're just doing a single crochet. Let's say you do the square, and after you do all of this, you just do a single into each of these, and in the corner you're going to increase, and you do it all in like a coordinating color. So let's say like a cream for these colors. You go all the way around, and the same thing for the pink. And then when you join it, you'll have that bit of cream as you have two rows of singles because there'll be a single around each of them. That will look good, and you won't see the joining. You would do the matcher stitch with a cream color or whatever color each block has a quote unquote border on. The flats, yeah. I think we're all in agreement that these two are the best. This one lays flat, it's decorative. Oh, excuse me. And this one you can't see it. So, yeah, like I said, it's gonna be a short stream tonight. It was only an hour. I think that's all I have tonight. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot about the memes. Forgot about the meme of the stream. Thank you for reminding me. Yes. Is Nor Fairy still here? Completely forgot about that. Again, this is not a scheduled night, and but again, if you need more um, instruction on how to do those, check the upload again, or go to Tony, which Tony is from TL Yarn Crafts. Watch her video, or in person if anybody here that knows me personally, which everybody chatting does. But anybody else who is here that was just watching, um, I didn't really mention anything. I'm the Crafty Cobb, and that was joining Granny's. So feel free to always watch. Um, like I said, after we're done the stream, I upload it to YouTube. So check that out. So we're going to do the. Okay, we're going to do the meme of the stream. So, well, I can't get the. Okay, let's make that a little smaller. I got behind the scenes stuff I have to do with this program. Okay, here it is. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's not what we wanted. Now we can do this. So, Sad Green's cousin. Goose Turd Green. Okay, well, we're going to switch this real quick. Oh, wait, what? Let me bring that back. Let me bring back Goose Turd. Okay, there's Goose Turd on the right. And, oh, thank you for the bit. And on the left, it looks different with this black background. Okay, let's get some white background. Oh, it still looks different. Oh, you can't see any of that. Anyway, so this is Sad Green. Maybe if we use the green background. No, it still looks the same. Anyway, so we have Sad Green and Goose Turd. Rain in the Graveyard? Yeah, it's the lighting. Okay. Okay. I really don't think that. I really don't think it's actually called Goose Turd Green. I think that that's been like photoshopped. I mean, it could be. There are some yarn companies that do have a. Oh, it's a real thing. Okay. There are some yarn companies that they do have a an off-color sense of humor. Rain in the Graveyard brings up some interesting sense in mind. Okay. Anyway, so I think that's it for tonight. Um, like I said, it was going to be a short stream. I just wanted to get that in before the end of the week, before the next couple streams. Oh, an update. Nothing's changed. It's just an update on Saturdays. Saturday, we only have the Granny Chevron, but we're also going to have, in addition to that, the We can't continue in chat. What do you mean? Like I was saying, Saturday we're going to have Granny Chevron, and then we're also going to do Kaleidoscope Granny. So that's a whole other cool thing, and it's with angles and stuff, but it's pretty easy. I don't have anything else to plan. I mean, we can sit and chit chat. We could do that, but I have nothing else prepped. I don't. Is that when Granny accidentally ate the wrong brown? Okay. I don't want to know what type of brownie that Granny's eating. Um, I was going to raid another channel, but I don't see anybody online currently that's doing anything that would be related to my channel. I don't find anything interesting right now. Those of you who stuck around yesterday when we went to, what was her name? Mrs. Beekeeper? When she was spinning? That's why you should feed the ducks. Okay. So, did anybody enjoy watching? Wait, why don't you pick something up and start doing the V-stitch? What do you mean the V-stitch? But this is Granny Week. We have to do something Granny related, and I don't have anything prepped. Who says? I said it's my channel. Granny Vicky. I'm sorry, I don't know her. Um, um, yeah. Yes, we already did the Granny thing. Yeah, it's Granny Week all week. The arm police gonna drag you out of the house and beat you in the alley for doing a blanket. What? Okay, you got an extra stream this week. Okay, you're getting. Then what am I gonna do Friday? You're gonna complain that there's nothing for Friday, because if I do Granny Rose now, then Friday, we don't want to do the same thing over and over. And I'm not working on Frank and Granny, even though they are grannies. Okay, let's do mosaic. You want to do mosaic? Crochet a big circle. That takes counting. I don't want to do mosaic. I don't want to do mosaic. Oh my gosh, my public is turning on me. Um, hmm. It's a no for you for the circle. Yeah, I'm not doing circles. Um, thanks for the bit. You can stop sending me bits. Stop wasting your money. Um, okay, fine. Seagame is not here. And even if he was, he doesn't know how to crochet. Okay, fine. Y'all have spoken. So I'm just going to do Granny Square. Basic Granny. Are you happy? Oh, actually, no. I can show you the other way to start a Granny Square. Hail to the stream. We will show the other way to start a Granny Square. Okay. You don't have to crochet along. So you're going to put a slip knot on your hook. Okay, you've talked me into it. And this is real basic. I don't need to prep anything for this. And then you're going to chain 4. You need a life, Cinderella. You're going to chain 4, but your first chain that you make it as loose as possible. You don't want it to be that loose where it's just a big old loop, but you want to chain the first chain on the loose side. Oops. Come on. I got to make it a little bit looser. Okay. Just about like that. So you're going to do chain 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we've chained 4. Now, in that very first chain we made, that loose one, we're going to do a double crochet and another double crochet. So all we did was we chained 4. That first one chain we made was loose, and in that very first chain we're going to do 2 double crochets. And if you're following along, let me know if you're following along so I can go slow. This is the other way to start a granny square. So we've chained 4. First chain we did was on the looser side, and then in that first chain we do 2 doubles. So now we're going to chain 2. That's going to be our corner. And in that same first chain, we're going to do 3 doubles. This first chain that we did is going to be the center of our granny square. It's just a different way of starting. So that's why you need that first chain to be very loose, because you're going to put a lot of stitches into it. So we've done, that was our first cluster, our corner, and our next cluster. And now we're going to do chain 2. That's the next corner. And now it's to the point we've gotten around a bit. I'm going to stitch over my tail. So now in that same center hole, that chain, we're going to do 3 more doubles. So instead of going into that ring that we make in the beginning, it's a chain that we're going into. It just happens to be a little on the looser side. So there's our 3 sides, chain 2, and now put 3 more in there in that center, which is going to have all these stitches in it. And I will also show you the other way of doing the next row, and it might confuse you all. Clay Miko, are you crocheting along? If not, that's okay. So we've got our 3 groups and then 2 chains. Okay, that's fine. And now we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first chain we did like normal, and that's our square. So that just makes starting it slightly different. You don't have to chain 6 or however many and then go back into the first chain and make a loop and go into there. You're just doing it all into a chain. Now the other way to do the next row, which this might confuse you all, but bear with me. So instead, what we would do is we would slip stitch our way to that corner, and that's the way I prefer to do it. I'm going to show you the other way that other people do it. So we're going to keep our loop here, and we're going to chain 2 or 3. So I always chain 2. And now what we're going to do, so that right there will be a double crochet. This will be the last double crochet of the cluster that's over here in this corner. Then we're going to chain 1. That chain will be the chain space. It'll make more sense when we get to it. And now we're going to do into that corner space, do our 3 doubles. And we're going to finish we're going to go over all the way around like normal. The only difference is you're going to chain up here. You're going to actually chain 3. Some people will chain 4 because they make their turning chain longer than I do. I do 2 for a double. Some people do 3. It's up to you. So we've done our cluster. Now we're going to chain 2 to do our corner, and then we're going to do our next cluster. And I'm not going to walk through this because this is basic granny, and I think we have all got this idea down. We're not doing mosaic, we're just doing basic granny. So it's a group of 3 doubles for a cluster, and then in between clusters you do 1 chain, and for the corners in between clusters you do 2 chains. That's all that this is. And then I will show you when we get back to the beginning of this round. I'm showing you this because you might find tutorials and patterns that might explain to do it this way. You don't have to do it this way. You could do it the way I've shown before and I've taught you. You're still going to get the same result. And we're doing the last corner. Okay, so that's the last side. We still have a corner here. So in this corner, we need to make 2 chains for the corner. This right here, that is the last double crochet of this cluster here. So instead of starting our cluster here, like we would normally slip stitch to the corner and do our cluster here, we would do a chain for our first stitch and then do 2. This is just doing the chain first. So in here we're going to do 2 double crochets. So those 2 are the first 2 stitches of our cluster, and this will be the last stitch. So you're going to slip stitch into the top of this chain. You're not going to remember that I've got 2 chains here and an additional chain. That additional chain is the chain space between clusters, just like we have on this side. We've got a chain there between clusters. So you don't want to go through that last chain. It's the chain next to it that you're going to slip stitch into. And that's how other people make a granny. So instead of working your way over and doing your chain to get the height, and that chain will count as your first double, and then do 2 actual doubles, you're doing it first. And you're just joining into that initial chain. So you can do it either way. And the same thing with the starting. You could start, do you know the granny that you turn your work on each round? Watch a clip of video and look cool. You could probably do that with any granny, actually. And those, there are a lot of them that, let's say you start out like this. You do 2 rounds of a color, and you work your way, you work your way to the corner, and then you change colors, and then you would flip, and you would do a different color along that row, and that row, and then flip, and then work it back. So you would only do it on 2 sides, 2 adjoining sides, and then you would chain, and you would just basically do rows back and forth. That's getting into what we're going to be doing on Friday. We're not doing a granny square like that, but rows back and forth. Yep, that's a variation of it. There is and this is kind of adjacent to quilting, there is a stitch, a pattern, called a log cabin granny. where it's kind of like that, where you actually do it like almost like a rectangle. Because if you know the log cabin pattern in quilting, it's strips and it's how they're joined, and they're a different. If you ask Grammy, she knows all about that. But there is a way to do it in crochet, and it's a granny. It's based on the granny stitch. So we're not doing either of those on Friday. We're not doing the log cabin granny, and we're not doing the one I just showed you where you start. Oh yeah, yeah. That actually would probably be a better picture. Okay. Oh wait a minute. Oh, you said okay. You said it was a YouTube link. I don't really want to share the YouTube, but anyway, this is what it's going to look like. Let me make it bigger. So that kind of explains what I was talking about. Where you would start with the red, you do 2 rounds of the red like a normal granny, and then you get to the corner, you work to the corner, and you start with the orange, and you go up and you do 2 rows like you do a normal granny, and then when you get there, you stitch. I will show you how to do, kind of, it's based on the same thing, where you do granny rows, where you go up and then you're doing the other row of the orange and go down, and then when you get down there, and then you change, so you work rows. So the red you do in a round, the other colors, the orange and the green, you do in rows. And then after you do that, you obviously do a round in the blue. So, if that makes sense to y'all. Just different ways of doing it. Um, that's about it. I don't have anything else to share. I mean, I showed the new joint, the new starting, and the different way of doing another round. That will look cool placing all the red in the center. Like, yeah, okay, that is kind of, actually, we're going to go back a ways. Weeks ago, and I got to scroll back up into the conversation, and I think it might be, oh my goodness. Oh, here it is. Weeks ago, you had said something about a 3D granny. Well, what I just showed, that example that you sent me that I just showed and I just talked about, that's what these are. Where the red here in the center, it's a variation on a granny. Okay? And then you do all of that, and then you do the white in rows back and forth, or whatever, just on those 2 sides. And then you would do the gray, back and forth, just as 2 sides, then the black, and then the dark blue, and then it looks like they would do, yeah, they did the light blue. They would do a bunch of those, and then they would do the same thing, but with the white in the center, and then going out to the green, and then the light blue. And then after they had all these blocks, then they would seam them together with what I did earlier tonight, with the joining, which I don't know. I can't tell what joining they used. I'm not exactly certain. So, but yeah, that's another thing. You could take those blocks, just like quilting, however you turn them. If you have all the reds in the center, or like this here, all of the center solid color squares are all pointing down. They're all oriented the same way. Or you can do them opposite, and you can do them however. And also with the other example with the 4 blocks, but place red together. So it's a big red square. Then the others would, yeah. Yep. Yeah, like the, just imagine 4 of those, but the one to the right would have the red square next to the red square, and then the orange and the green would continue over to the right and form a corner, and then so yeah, the same thing. Yeah, I think they call that. Yeah, I think a lot of them call that a mitered granny, where it's only on the 2 sides. Yeah, there's all different types of grannies, different variations, and we'll get more into that as time goes on. I just don't want to be sick of grannies. Most of March, I think all of March for the most part, um, I don't think we're gonna do any grannies. You have anybody? Okay, anybody who here has logged into Twitch and is actually interacting and has signed up for a Twitch name can stream as long as you follow the terms of service. You can't show nudity and you can't play copyrighted music and you can't do that. Yeah, there's a bunch of different things. Anybody can go live and stream. You could stream and just you sitting there chit chatting. You don't have to actually do anything. You could stream video games. You can stream what I'm doing. If you go onto Twitch and you search through the actually that's what I'll do. I think I can do this. So this is what my Twitch page looks like. I'm going to move this. Whoops. Next to where I text, there's a circle. I have over 1,000 coins. After a while, it turns green, and click on it and it adds coins. Okay. Um, is it a little purple circle and it says channel points? You don't have the emotes to unlock. See, I'm not real certain about that. Those are chat points you can use to unlock emotes or highlight your text. Okay, yeah. I'm not really, I'm not all well versed in all of that. Norfairy would be better at that. But yes, everybody here has a Twitch. You don't have to stream. You don't have to do what I'm doing. You don't have to go live. But everybody, yeah, actually, yeah, that's a good idea, Clemiko. When we have Yarny Club, for those of that I know in person, um, I'll set up the laptop, and you guys have your phones or whatever, and we can look all into that. There's a bunch of other things I can enable on my end in my stream, and I still haven't figured it all out. Again, I'm relatively new to all this. One extra thing I want to discuss. That basically is unless there are additional subscription emotes. Yeah, I know when you when you are a subscriber, either somebody gifts you a subscription or you buy a subscription for yourself, they will unlock certain little emotes that you can use. I personally have never actually used an emote, but if you're into, I know you guys have used emotes even before I was affiliate. You guys, yeah, that's fine. That's just little extra perks you get. Um, One thing I'm thinking about doing, and if it's confusing to you all and foreign, I understand. And those of you who know me personally, we can chat about this offline. I am considering starting a Discord server. Real brief, for those of you who don't know, Discord is an application where you can have a running chat, and you can send links, and you can send pictures. They have their own GIFs, tons of GIFs, and it's not crochet related. Started with gamers, but a lot of other people use it. They have all of that, and you can add extra channels and do different fun things. If I start one, I'm going to do it very basic, and there is an option to do video chats, kind of like Zoom or group chats. And again, you don't have to do any of that. I was thinking about doing it mainly for those followers and subscribers that are that I do not know personally, and if they want to share any of their projects. No, Discord is a separate thing, and it's free to join, and it's actually pretty easy to learn. And I can help you through all of that if I decide to do this, and if you all decide to join the Discord. Again, I haven't even started setting it up. I haven't even made one yet. But again, for people who I don't know personally, if they want to share any of their projects or their finished projects, their whips, their yarn hauls, or other crafting things, or other things that if they're making something for dinner or whatever, and if they want to share into the community, instead of only being able to click on it when we're live on stream, it's a good way to. It always will be there. And I know you guys on the phone, it might be difficult to access it while you're on stream watching, but when you're off stream, it's just an extra tool, an extra way of communicating. Again, if I make one, it's not mandatory, but yeah, because they don't have me on Facebook, or they don't have my phone number to text me, or they don't. Yeah, so it'll be like a supplement to the stream. Yes, you can in the stream here. You can give suggestions, but there's no way on Twitch that I know of where followers can post pictures of whatever they're working on, or whatever that they're interested in. So it's just something to think about. If I do end up making one, again, those who I know personally, I can help you walk you through it. It's not difficult at all. So I am getting tired. So I think we will end the stream. Again, no stream tomorrow because I will not be around. And reminding everyone that the streams are uploaded onto YouTube after the stream is done. So check that out. There's past streams there. Our next stream will be Friday night at 8 o'clock. We'll be doing Granny Rose and Tunisian Granny Stitch. And I think that's it. Everybody, you all have a good evening. And we're not rating anybody because I haven't found anybody to pop everybody over to. So everybody have a good evening and happy crafting.